You're sitting at a dealership desk and the new truck is right there on the other side of the glass. Then the salesman checks on your old car and finds the problem. You still owe $18,000 on it, and he's offering you $11,000. And here's the moment this entire video is about. He doesn't send you home. He doesn't even pause. He smiles and says, "Don't worry about it. We'll roll that right in." That little sentence just moved $7,000 of debt off a car you're getting rid of and onto a car you haven't even driven yet. And almost nobody who signs that paper could tell you it happened. It felt like a favor. It wasn't one, and it definitely wasn't free. My name is Wes, and I spend way too much time thinking about money. If this video ends up helping you, hit that subscribe button and give it a thumbs up. It genuinely helps. Because today, I want to walk you through the single most common trap in American car buying right now. It's called negative equity, and by the numbers, roughly 1 in 3 people trading in a car is caught in it at this exact moment. And I'd bet that if you financed a car in the last few years, you don't actually know your own number. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly how to find it and exactly what it's costing the people who never look. So let's define the thing, because the phrase sounds like something from a bank meeting, and the idea underneath it is surprisingly simple. Your car is worth some amount. You owe some amount. When you owe more than the car is worth, the difference between those numbers is negative equity. That's the entire concept. People call it being underwater, and honestly, that's the better word for it, because the debt doesn't float away when the car does. Sell the car, trade the car, total the car on the highway. It doesn't matter. The loan was never attached to the metal. It's attached to you, and it survives. You can hand over the keys, watch the thing drive away forever, and keep owing money on it every month. You still owe money on a car you do not own. That's not a figure of speech. That's the paperwork. And I get why this catches people, because nothing in your life prepares you for it. Nobody teaches this in school. We're raised to think of a car as a thing, and you either own the thing or you don't. But a financed car is really 2 things at once. There's the metal, which loses value every day, and there's the loan you signed, which doesn't care what the metal does. Most of the time, those 2 objects drift apart quietly, in the background of your life, while you're busy making the payment on time and feeling responsible for it. Now let me show you how common this has become, because I think these numbers are actually shocking, and they're the reason I made this video. The car data company Edmunds tracks every trade that goes toward a new car in America. In the first quarter of this year, 30.9% of them carried negative equity, nearly 1 in 3. That's the highest share for any quarter in about 5 years. And the average amount those people were underwater was just over $7,000. That figure has climbed more than 40% in 5 years. It gets worse at the deep end. 26% of underwater trades were carrying more than $10,000 of old car debt, and some were past $15,000. Think about that for a second. Roughly a quarter of these deals rolled a 5-figure debt from a dead car into a brand new loan. Nobody plans that. Nobody sits down at a kitchen table and picks it on purpose. So the obvious question is how? How do millions of careful, completely normal people end up owing thousands more than their car is worth, all at the same time? The answer is the length of the loan. This is the machine underneath the entire trap, so let's take it apart properly. The credit bureau Experian publishes the national statistics every quarter. The average new car loan in America is now just under $44,000, stretched across 69.5 months of payments. And the stretching is accelerating. More than a third of new car loans now run longer than 6 years, up sharply from a year earlier. And Edmunds found that in the second quarter of this year, nearly 1 in 4 new car loans ran 84 months or longer, 7 full years of payments, and that's an all-time record. Why is everybody stretching? Because the payment forces it. The average financed new car payment just hit a record $777 a month, and 1 in 5 buyers is now above $1,000. And before anyone thinks buying used escapes the machine, the average used car payment is now over $500 a month, at interest rates averaging more than 11%. Even the way out costs money. Now notice what question the whole industry asks you at that desk. It's never, "What does this car cost?" It's, "What do you want your monthly to be?" And that question sounds considerate, like they're working with your budget. But the term of the loan is a lever. And with a long enough lever, nearly any price can be bent until it fits nearly any budget. The payment is not the price. The payment is the price divided by however many months it takes to make you say yes. Once you see the desk that way, the whole conversation changes. Now here's why the long loan creates the trap. And this is the one picture I'd want you to remember. 2 lines. Your car's value drops fast, hardest in the first couple of years because that's how depreciation works. Your loan balance drops slowly because your early payments are mostly interest. Stretch the term to 7 years and those lines separate for most of the loan. That red gap between them is negative equity. You live inside that gap for years without feeling it, and you only find out it exists on the day you try to leave. Which brings us right back to that desk and the sentence that sounds so harmless. We'll roll it in. Rolling it in means your old shortfall gets added to the new loan. So now you're financing the new truck plus the ghost of the old car and paying interest on both of them at once, usually for longer than before. And Edmunds measured exactly what that costs. In the second quarter of this year, buyers who rolled negative equity into a new loan averaged $944 a month. The typical buyer paid $777. That's $167 more every single month for the entire life of the loan. As punishment for the last loan not being finished when the car was, and the interest picture is uglier. Those rollover buyers are on track to pay about $16,000 in interest over the loan, against about $10,000 for the average buyer. Nearly $6,500 extra, and not 1 cent of it buys anything you can drive. Now, here's the question I actually want you to answer for yourself. Do you know your payoff number? And do you know what your car would sell for today? Because if you don't know both numbers, you can't know which side of that red gap you're standing on. And this is where the trap stops being a bad afternoon and becomes a cycle, which is the part nobody at the desk will ever walk you through. Watch how this actually works. You roll $7,000 into the new loan. The new loan now starts life deeper underwater than a normal one, on a longer term at a bigger balance. So it sinks further, and it stays down longer. A few years later, life happens. The transmission acts up, or the family grows, or you just want out. You're back at a desk, and the gap is bigger this time. So you roll it again. Each new car quietly finances the ghost of the one before it. Dealers even have a name for people stuck in this loop. Customers for life. It sounds warm. It isn't. It describes a person whose every future car purchase is already spoken for, because they'll never again walk onto a lot without old debt riding along in the passenger seat. And here's the part that gets me about the cycle. From the inside, it never feels reckless. Every single step feels responsible. You made your payments. You traded a failing car for a reliable one. You kept the family moving. The trap isn't built out of bad decisions. It's built out of reasonable decisions, made one at a time, on top of a number nobody ever showed you. And it's not just impatient people trading in year one. The average underwater trade is now over 4 years old, the oldest ever recorded. People are keeping their cars longer, doing the responsible thing, and the math still isn't clearing. So what happens when this machine stops being annoying and starts breaking people? The Federal Reserve Bank of New York tracks exactly that. Americans now carry about $1.7 trillion in auto loans. That's sitting inside nearly $19 trillion in total household debt. And in the first quarter of this year, 2.97% of that auto debt slid into serious delinquency, meaning the payments went at least 90 days unpaid, roughly the same as a year earlier, and holding at a level that should genuinely worry you. The share falling at least 30 days behind was close to 8%. About $1 in every 13, stumbling every single quarter. Those aren't crash numbers. They're something quieter, and honestly, a little worse than a crash. They're millions of monthly payments that were engineered to barely fit a budget. And then, the budget moved. And think about what a car payment is actually protecting in an American life. The car is how you get to work. It's the school drop-off, the grocery run, everything that keeps a family moving. People will stretch nearly anything else before they let the car go. because losing the car threatens the income that pays for everything else. So when this particular bill starts slipping across the country, it says something about how tight the whole arrangement has become. And remember who's most exposed when that happens. The person paying $944 a month on a loan that started out underwater has no cushion inside the car at all. If anything goes wrong, they cannot sell their way out, because the car is worth less than what it would cost to walk away. Which brings me to the twist, the part of this that makes me genuinely angry. This whole machine is marketed to you as generosity. You've heard the ads. We'll pay off your trade no matter what you owe. Nothing gets paid off. Read the fine print and your old debt simply changes its address. The sentence that sounds like a rescue is the exact mechanism of the trap, spoken out loud on a billboard with a smile. Push it, pull it, drag it in, we'll take it. Those events exist because your negative equity is not a problem for the dealership. It's inventory. A customer who needs their old loan to disappear is a customer who has already stopped negotiating on everything else. The payment is the distraction. It's built to look affordable, and it keeps your eyes busy while the term, the rate, and the rolled over balance do their work somewhere out of sight. So what do you do with all of this? I'm not a financial advisor, and I'm not going to pretend to know your situation. What I can do is tell you how the machine works, because this particular machine only works in the dark. Here's the part almost nobody does. Your lender can tell you your exact payoff amount today. It sits on a statement or behind a single phone call, and it is not a secret they get to keep. Free car value estimates exist all over the internet, and dealerships themselves will appraise the car without any obligation. A couple of numbers, maybe 5 minutes of your life. Subtract one from the other, and you know exactly where you stand before anyone at a desk tells you a story about it. That's the entire difference between the person this trap works on and the person it doesn't. Not income, not intelligence, just knowing the size of the gap before the salesman does. Because negative equity isn't a life sentence. Every payment closes the gap a little. Cars near the end of their loans climb back above water on their own. The trap only compounds when the gap gets rolled forward, unread, into the next loan, and then the next one after that. The truck will still be there next year. The debt you didn't roll won't be. And here's the part nobody says out loud. There's a version of wealth that never shows up in a driveway. It's the car that's just a car. Not a payment, not a plan. Just a machine you own outright that takes you to work, whose only job is to be finished. Nobody takes a picture of that. But nobody ever lost sleep over it either. You still owe money on a car you don't own. That was the sentence we started with, and now you know exactly how it happens, what it costs every month, and how people quietly get free of it. If it helped, you know what to do. I'll see you in the next one.